Hi, my name is AK and you're watching the Swashbuckler's Arsenal. In today's video, we're going to be talking about where I find my zero waste fabric. When I think of zero waste, I think of a lifestyle that depends on you buying anything but mass-produced items. And that, for a seamstress, includes fabric. Obviously, there are plenty of places to get fabric. Pretty much anywhere you live, especially in the United States, there's going to be a fabric store somewhere near you, and by near I mean like an hour or 2 hours away. That's for us if you live in the country. But because I want to live my life in a zero waste manner, that means that I don't want to supply the demand that is going to demand the supply. See what I did there? That was actually very clever or confusing, one of the two. And because of that, I don't want to buy mass-produced fabric. And there are multiple different places that you can go to get non-mass produced fabric or secondhand fabric, things like that. So that's what this video is. The first place I get my fabric is the thrift store. And not fabric, sheets. Sheets, tablecloths, bed skirts, pretty much any piece of material that is long and uninterrupted by other things. Now, I started doing this before I even knew what zero waste was. It was just kind of the way that my family lived. Like, we always, when we wanted to make something, we always went to Goodwill or, you know, our local thrift store, and we would look for sheets and tablecloths, and that's what we made things out of. We didn't really make things out of actual material. And honestly, some of my favorite things have come from sheets. I'll put a couple of examples on screen of some things that I've made out of sheets or bed skirts or tablecloths. The second thing to look for at thrift stores are clothes, actually. When it comes to more expensive materials or materials that you won't find as a sheet or a tablecloth, clothes are a very good place to find it as well. The best example that I can think of is we were making a Civil War uniform for my brother, and we just bought a bunch of clothes that were made out of gray wool, and then we pieced those together and made him his uniform. This also goes for leather. It's always easier and probably cheaper to buy a leather jacket. Maybe it's damaged in a couple of places, has a couple of rips or stains. You can always cut around those and you can use that leather however you needed to. The second place I get my fabric, and this is actually a very predominant one, and it won't work for everybody, but it is hand-me-downs. I knew a lot of seamstresses or I knew and know a lot of seamstresses, and when they go through their supply of fabric, I'm on the other receiving end of that. So I remember, I think the first bundle of fabric I received was from my first seamstress teacher, actually, when I was like 7 or 8, and I still have stuff from that I haven't used. It was a huge bundle of fabric, and ever since then, anybody else that I've come in contact to who sews, who knows that I sew, usually if they go through or do some spring cleaning, I'm on the receiving end of whatever they don't want. And because I use fabric for mock-ups and I can dye it and I do scrap projects and all of that, if the fabric's not stunning or not enough to make a, you know, great gown or something, I can put it into a scrap project or I can use it for a mock-up. So I never turn away fabric, which makes it a little bit tough to be a minimalist, but I try my best. Okay, the last place I get fabric from are actually multiple places, but they're the scrap or clearance racks of those places. So Walmart, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, any place that would have mass-produced fabric also has clearance racks, or where they throw their scrap before they're going to throw them away. And when you buy there, you're not creating a demand, because no matter how full or empty those racks are, they're not going to refill them. They are also not noting how many you're taking, and they don't, by taking them, you're not creating a demand. So I feel pretty good about taking from those. And you usually get a much better deal than if you were to buy something specifically. So are there any exceptions? Do I ever buy fabric mass-produced? I think the only time, I'm thinking of two right now. One was before I was zero waste. I outfitted for my parents' anniversary. We were all matching, and so I bought that off eBay. So I think that might still count as being zero waste. That's another place to look for fabric if you can't find it at your local thrift store. You can check eBay and Etsy and stuff like that, and usually those are really, really small segments, so maybe looking for a lot that has just a bunch of miscellaneous fabric if you're open to that sort of thing. But yeah, getting back to the story, I just bought a whole mess of yardage of this really cheap fabric just to make these outfits for us, just for this one day. The second time is actually a client that I currently have right now. I'm ordering fabric for his 1930s suit. So those are probably the only exceptions I can think of. Obviously, when I start the Swashbucklers Arsenal for real, we'll need a fabric source and a place to order a lot of fabric. But I think that because we reuse all of our scraps and we only order what we need, that we're going to help create a healthy supply and demand, that we're only demanding what we need and that's all they're supplying. On another note, similar to fabric but not, I'm going to talk about notions. And if I am using that term correctly, that means things like buttons, zippers, bias tape, elastic, things like that. And I'm just going to say it, when it comes to things like that, I throw minimalism out the window 100% of the time. I am a hoarder. And that comes to when you're getting rid of clothes. If they have a zipper on them, take them off. If they have buttons on them, take them off. If they have elastic in them. When I'm using sheets, I'll take a fitted sheet and I'll save all the elastic off of the edges. When I'm looking for bias tape, usually I just make it myself. But things like zippers, buttons, hook and eyes, snaps, all of that I just save off of clothes and anything else that I'm using. So I definitely hoard when it comes to stuff like that, because if I don't, then I have to go out and buy it, and that's not very zero waste of me. So yeah, that's a kind of side thing, but again, it's the same thing. I did find that notions are a lot easier to find on eBay than fabric is. I just recently bought a lot of zippers, and it had all different sizes, all different colors, so I am set on zippers for a while. But you can do the same thing, getting a lot of buttons or snaps or hook and eyes. Just keeping your eye out for people that are cleaning out their sewing supply. Okay, and I think that's it for today. So if you all enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you have any requests or suggestions for future videos, please comment them down below. Until next time, bye!